Hello, my name is Ralf Friedrichs. I'm an addiction recovery coach and the host of the Take Your Life Back Today show. As an addiction recovery coach, I want to share something with you. Let me be crystal clear to leave an everlasting impact upon you. Just imagine being buried alive. You're in a coffin, but you know you're not dead. You don't know how to get out of that coffin. You tried lifting the lid, but the enormous weight upon the lid won't open it. You banging on the lid. You try over and over, hopefully to unsettle the dirt. Maybe somebody standing by your grave will notice and start digging their way down towards you. This is what it's like to feel at the lowest point of alcohol and drug addiction. You know you need help. You know you can't do it on your own, but you don't know where to turn. In reality, there are people standing by your grave. You just don't know that. You just think you're going to die. Usually, though, people who are habitually using drugs and alcohol have no fear of death. In order to fear death, you have to be great at repressing the fear of death. I often ask you, my audience, did it ever cross your mind while you were abusing drugs and alcohol that you might just take something that God had given you called life away? And if that's not selfish enough, how about taking your life away from the people that count on you most? Your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your children, even your grandchildren. With this, let me leave one last thought. Don't be like the person that I just spoke about that waited and waited and waited and didn't reach out to anyone. Instead, just pick up the phone and call me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you, I will help you take your life back. For your life is gone. Don't forget to put your slippers under your bed, not by the edge of your bed, but under your bed. That way in the morning, when you wake up, you'll drop to your knees to go and retrieve them. And while you're on your knees, utilize a thing I call knee-mail, K-N-E-E-mail. Knee-mail is when you pray to God, when you ask God for guidance and direction, mercy and forgiveness, when you thank God for everything that you have, your home, health, food, relationships, family. Knee-mail, each and every morning, utilize that. Speak from your heart to God's ears. Folks, don't forget to please, 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 please dedicate a few minutes a day to have that personal conversation with God. Now put those slippers on, stand straight up, stick your chest out, and walk with God 24/7. Why did God design us to live in a community, not to live alone? Life in this falling world is hard. Preparation is hard. Change is hard. It's easy to get discouraged, isn't it? It's easy to feel overwhelmed, isn't it? It is easy to remain or revert to being self-absorbed, isn't it? It's easy to feel alone, isn't it? It's easy to think that no one understands what you're going through, isn't it? It's tempting to think, like Moses, that God must have gotten the wrong address, that this trial couldn't have been intended for your doorstep. It's easy to give in to wondering if the hardships of the Christian life are worth the trouble at all. It's easy to look over the fence and yield to deliberating envy. It's easy to let go of good and godly personal spiritual habits. It's easy at the end of a long day to try to numb or distract yourself by whatever temporary pleasures lies within reach. It's easy. It's easy to deceive yourself about the need to change, to grow in godliness. It's easy to lose your way and give up. But it's important for you to remember that life and ministry in the fallen world are hard. Not only for you, my friends, but also for everyone in your care. That's why God has designed us to live with others in a community of love. When I read 1 Peter 1, I was always struck by how God has placed a call to love at the end of the discussion of hardship. As Peter summarizes that God is doing here and now, he uses three words: suffer, grief, and trial. None of us want these things. I know you don't. But Peter reminds us that they are tools of refinement in the hands of a loving Redeemer, intended on completing in us what he has begun. Then Peter begins to lay out how to live productively in the middle of these unbelievable hardships. Listen to his final directive. Now that you have purified yourselves by obeying the truth, so that you have sincere love for your brothers, love one another deeply from the heart. That's in 1 Peter 1:22. Peter is saying something very powerful here. God hasn't simply called us to endure the refining fires of sanctification. He's ordained us to incarnate His love through the community He's placed around us. This community of love gives us hope and strength, but it also encourages us with the reminder that one who tests and trains is the one who loves. This community of love is meant to comfort the person who's discouraged, to strengthen the person who's weak, to encourage the person who has no hope, to come alongside the person who's alone, to guide the person who's lost his way, to give the wisdom to the person who lost in foolishness, to warn the person who's beginning to wander, to correct a person turning the wrong way, to give eyes to the person blind to God's presence, and to physically represent God's presence and love. No one, including pastors, is wired to live outside this community. So, as you're living and ministering in this broken world, what does God call you to do? There's one sure and reliable answer to this particular question. He calls you to seize every opportunity to be an instrument of His love. As an ambassador of Christ, you've been called to participate in a community of love that is the church. The teenager attracted to the world needs God's love. That single person facing the death of personal dreams needs God's love. That immigrant brother or sister who feels so out of place and so misunderstood needs God's love. That mom overwhelmed with her parenting responsibilities needs God's love. That man tempted to walk out of his troubled marriage also needs God's love. The little boy who lost his father to divorce needs God's love. That woman living through the ravages of cancer needs God's love. That couple facing debts that can't pay needs God's love. The woman who now faces life without a man who's been her companion for decades needs God's love. That pastor carrying a heavy weight of spiritual responsibilities needs God's love. That university student facing spiritual warfare needs God's love. We could multiply example after example after example. There is no location, no situation, or relationship this side of heaven where this love is extra noise. The love isn't about liking people. It isn't about romantic affection. It's something more cultural niceness. It's deeper than being respectful or mannerville. This love finds its motivation, its hope, and its direction at the cross of Jesus Christ. Its active, persevering, tender understanding, forgiving, compassionate, and self-sacrificing love. The people in your care need this cross-shaped love, and so do you. You can love others because the one who represent never fails to love perfectly this way in both your best and worst moments. This is what a community is about. And I'm not talking about a community at the end of the cul-de-sac at your house. I'm talking about the community of church, the community of Christians. The community is what you surround yourself and who you surround yourself with. That is what a community is about. And through the power of Christ and the power of prayer, enlarge your community and take care of one another within that community. Even if you step outside of that community, give that hopeless person hope. Give that blind person sight. Give that poor person money. Give that person that never smiles a reason to smile. Give that person some compassion that needs compassion. It all starts today in your heart, and it all starts with the power of Christ and the power of prayer. Start today, and may God bless each and every one of you. Take care. If you have any questions, call me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you I'll call you back. Goodbye, and may God bless you.